Okay. Cool. Hi, my name is Ryan Cadeau Ward Miller, and today I'm going to be giving a short little lecture style presentation um, on my episode, which my episode is Rehash. Um, I got the idea to do this kind of lecture style both from the mixture of just talking with my peer group and the lectures we got in this class this term. Um, One of the things I've really felt about online school is that like there is nothing traditional about this, so there shouldn't be such emphasis and force on us as students to be traditional. Um, if we're going to have untraditional schooling, then we should explore with untraditional methods of finishing assignments and trying to let our teachers and educators know how we interpreted the text. And I kind of thought, what better way to do that than just kind of talk and have a conversation. Um, I think uh, I think obviously there's going to be a lot of people that do the traditional Prezi, the PowerPoint, and I think that I don't know, given the whole landscape and how redundant school is right now, I just kind of wanted to go in a little different direction. So my topic of this lecture, I really want to just briefly talk about what I think are the similarities between the views shared in the book Dialectic of Enlightenment, written by Adorno and Horkheimer, which isn't a book we read, but I feel like coincides with a lot of theory that we read about kind of just reproduction of media and how unoriginal a lot of things are. Being, like with the just connotation of making money in the industry, I think Matt and Trey make a lot of just jabs at people in the artist industry that they're only doing it to make money. Like remaking Fast and Furious 9 times is not because people like the Fast and Furious movies. It's because each one of them makes a fucking $1 billion. And I think the episode Rehash, which is not the episode I originally proposed. I originally proposed the episode I'm a Little Bit Country, but upon completing this book, which I actually completed for a different class, it really just clicked with that episode Rehash. And I think that the arguments of Matt and Trey in that episode and the arguments of Adorno and Horkheimer are very similar in the sense of they're very critical of the mass media. They each find that in the mass media, as with the mass production of any item, quality is not the main, focus. It's quantity. It's efficiency. It is definitely a Marxist idea. Adorno and Horkheimer were definitely Marxist, and as we talked a couple times, I believe in like module 6 or 5 it was, we talked about a lot of the Marxist arguments prevalent in South Park. Which is also another connection I made to this book in the show. I was like, wow, they really like just philosophically kind of agree on these things. There's an undertone of the same libertarian philosophy that Matt and Trey seem to have in Dialectic of Enlightenment. That same I wouldn't call it a just outright pessimistic view of humanity, but it is kind of it is a pessimistic view. Let's break down the episode a little bit. Rehash, it comes in kind of like a mini-series. Like the end of that season was kind of all about rehashing, and they used the concept of holograms, which this was the same year, I believe, Michael Jackson's hologram headlined Coachella or something. And they were using holograms of dead celebrities who are now coming into the world and performing at music festivals is kind of this idea and just epitome of rehash culture, and it is the sense there's I'm reading the restaurant of the name, and whether or not it was Stan or Butters who sits down at dinner with the big media conglomerate guy who's organizing all this, and that guy has this whole James Bond like villain speech where he explains like the only reason we're rehashing this shit is because, one, we're comfortable with it. We know how those pieces of media made us feel. and we don't want to go find something new because it might make us feel bad. If we know Indiana Jones makes us feel good, then let's make 5 of them. I mean, that's the theory behind it. And it also stems not just behind that, but if we can make so much money on all these, then why not? Like, why we focus on the quality when we can just bust out efficiency at a almost code-like level, at a coding with and especially with holograms, with inanimate and with non-alive people who cannot speak or advocate for themselves. It definitely becomes more efficient, because then it just becomes whoever owns their rights, if anyone even does, to greenlight a project. That's instead of, maybe giving the platform to someone new, we just end up, creating something we've already seen. And at the end of this season, as with most of the episodes, they find a way and have the boys and Stan to give this big speech or Kyle comes and gives this big speech at the end and wraps everything up on a nice, neat little bow. And I think that's really interesting, but I also think they leave something pretty key out of that argument, and I think that is all the opportunities that the money from rehash culture makes. That is, Adorno had kind of a intellectual rival, and that was Walter Benjamin, who proposed that idea, and he kind of was one of the first to propose, although mass media is something taken over by the bourgeoisie, it's taken over and being kind of co-opted merely by profit, it also gives new avenues to things we wouldn't have seen before. The Godfather 2. We wouldn't have gotten The Godfather 2 if Stephen Coppola wasn't allowed to make his passion project, The Conversation. We wouldn't have Jojo Rabbit if Taika Waititi wasn't so successful in Thor Ragnarok. And while, yes, there is an absolute argument to be made for artistic authenticity and the artistic authenticity that is lost through rehash culture, there's also, I think, a really important thing to be said about what opportunities are created by the success of this mass media and rehash culture. Part of why I point that out is I think South Park normally just does a really good job of showing both sides of the argument and both sides, but in this particular argument, I felt that in this particular episode, I felt it was kind of a one-sided. It was very much a Adorno Horkheimer dialectic of the Enlightenment like argument, where it just, there's no positive aspect to the mass production of media. It takes the individual out of media. But that's a debate too that will frankly go on forever. It is incredibly interesting. It's one, when I'm quoting Walter Benjamin and Adorno and Horkheimer, we know this is a debate that's been going on since the 1930s. And the early level of intellectual theory in Germany that kind of shapes the way we view intellectual and academic theory today. But yeah, I really just appreciate the opportunity to be able to connect these two and have this kind of, assignment. I've definitely gone over my timing a little bit, and I'll probably get docked for that, but this was such a great opportunity to be able to do, and especially as someone, my dream is to become a teacher, an educator, so to get opportunities like this where I, instead of trying to write up some pretty, presentation where my grammar is perfect, I just get to sit in front of a camera and talk, and give my opinion and my understanding. So I'm really appreciative of this assignment and this class. So thank you. It was pretty jumbled, pretty random, but I hope you appreciate my take in my little lecture. Thank you. It's a great class. I hope to take your class in person at some point. Bye, and have a great summer. Or spring term, not summer. We're in winter term.